This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I represent Bahamian people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Baytown, bro. Where I from Baytown, bro. Right between West and Augusta, where them two roads meet, they call it Wilkinson Street. Manners and respect was like a sign blank check. It seems the ones that coming after quick to disrespect. You see, this life in the ghetto never easy. So many hungry days break till it grieve me. Way I doing the best I can, trying to turn my dollar to 100 grand. I represent the ghetto people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Baytown, bro. Where I from Baytown, bro.
Good night, Bahamas, and welcome to Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I am your host, Valentino, aka Scoochie Scrooge or Scoochie, sometimes Governor or MP, host of the talk show Inside the Inner City that premieres every Friday except holidays from 6:30 to 8 p.m. Telephone numbers tonight are 323-6232, 325-4316, and 325-4259. You can text us, powered by BTC, at 422-GR96. Our producer in the studios is Mr. Chris. And today, we're going to have a conversation on a lot of topics. We mix up like tongue salad. We don't need to talk about one topic all day. We cover a lot of topics, and you call us, who are actually the guests, do a terrific job of having a nice, quiet conversation, where there's no back and forth. So we have a good conversation on the issues we speak about. And many of the times we do agree. Even if we don't agree, everyone has their opinion. That don't mean your opinion is right, but you have to respect one's opinion, because sometimes that person, can be right, on their perspective or their angle coming from what they're trying to interject. So today we're going to talk about a number of issues. There's a lot of talk around town about the sweethearting with the male and female, etc. I want to go back to what this lady said a few weeks ago, Ms. Moore, stating that government failing to tackle crisis of mothers prostituting their daughters. That's alarming. I think all this ties into how our country is moving forward, because we are not able to identify the problems that we are facing in the country and start to tie them in and see that it's a cycle that we have statistics on, but many of the times we separate it, But all has to do with poverty and all has to do with crime. And if you look at our society today, you would see some of the daughters we're getting by institutes, University of the Bahamas, and etc., and people doing statistics on the sweethearting and the response. You could see that we are in serious crisis because they're talking about married man, married woman, and it's sweethearting. So we're talking about in that sweethearting, while that transition, we're gonna have outside children who are still gonna be neglected. We're gonna have broken homes. We're gonna have people making wrong decisions. They're married and sleeping around with other people. Some statistics show that the sweetheart, the females say that they love their sweetheart loves them more than their husband or their boyfriend. So it's crazy, it's crazy. And then the bigger picture is to show you why our country is heading in the direction it's always been heading in. And if we don't make adjustments to try and make our society more educational on the consequences of us, just having children, having sex, and think it's just a game, and for experience, you have me this week, and then someone's gonna have you the next week, or today you're gonna be by me, and and then there's a lot of sexually transmitted diseases out there that are passing from one person to the next, and I'm not discriminating because we all are vulnerable in this, but we all have children, we all have family, and we have to educate. All this is a part of it that we have to be very careful about when we have this conversation, because it's not two people, it's not three people, because you don't know who is having a relationship with who. The husband could be having three sweetheart, the wife could have a sweetheart, and that the wife's sweetheart could have four other people who he checking, and you're not looking at the bigger picture here, So this is a very serious thing in our country. Then what it creates a lot of children being born in the country who are going to be separated from their fathers and their mothers because of the relationship, and in doing so, a lot of children are going to get neglected. And once the children get neglected, because you're married, you don't want your wife to know that you have, you don't want your wife to know that you have an outside child, or you're seeing somebody, or the wife, she got pregnant from her next sweetheart, and she don't want the husband to know, so this is kept a secret on both ends. And then, man, this is Chris. Hey, Chris, this is crazy what's going on in our country, and people don't know how serious it is, Because listen, in a relationship, right, that's why I try to really be careful on who I get in relationship with. You understand? Because it's like this. I could be liking this female, right? And I just say just start a relationship with her. And she's telling me, she don't have no boyfriend at the time, and that they're going through a little up and down. Well, when you are up and down, people automatically they're still in contact, they're still going through their emotion, they're still going through their feelings. So that is not a lost cause. So even if you was to get in a relationship with that female or male, that person who they're involved with is always going to be a part of your relationship. And like I say, then it goes to that person helping somebody they're going through a relationship issue with, So, and then it continues, and boy, so it's real crazy in this country. That's why we really need to educate ourselves in this country. We need to teach about sex education in the schools. We have to teach that sex is dangerous. We should be teaching, before you have sex, right? This is what has happened when you have sex. A child could be born, sexually transmitted diseases can be born. This also could slow down the progress of your life, because now that you have a child, it takes you off course from you getting your education, from you being able to really go out there and achieve your goal, because he or she now becomes a parent at an early age, and then it could slow you down from you progressing, and then you're not able to function as a law-abiding citizen because of the circumstances of the high cost of living. And then, it's crazy, and this is what a lot of people are facing in our country today. And that's why I speak on these issues, because I know all these tie in to what we are facing in the inner city and the country at large. We are making a lot of bad decisions in the country, and then we are saying that it's all good, but it's very dangerous, It's very dangerous. Living in a country that is rich, but we are poor, like the majority of people who live in the Camp Road area, the Chippenham area, Baintown area, Angliston area, and the inner city community is South Beach and specific areas. A lot of people are doing real, real bad and struggling every day. So, if this keeps up, right, at the pace it's going now, we're not going to see a decrease in nothing. It's going to stay the way it is, or it might get worse as time will progress. That's what I've been preaching for such a long time, coming on the radio, because I could see where we're headed. So I just want to play a few clips, and then I'm going to read some of the comments made by a person who did the statistics, and then to show you how it's going to affect us. But I also want to show you that there's some programs out there that government are doing. Like I say, that is very beneficial to the Bahamian people. I'm encouraging young people out there to check with the small business development. Go online. There's a new program out there that assists with helping you create, helps you and engage you in whatever business-like venture you want to go into. You need to go check it out, because there's some good things that government are doing. But like I say, we live in an inner city community, and as much as the government is trying to get the information out there, it's still not going to reach a lot of people, because a lot of people don't listen to radio, a lot of people don't watch TV, a lot of people are just completely dead in the community. Unless it's there present in their community, that's the only way it's going to be effective. You might call it laziness or whatever it is. It's just that a lot of people are stagnated. They have lost their will to go out and try do something with their lives. They're just seeing that the communities are, just stagnated. There's nothing really like powerful happening in the community that is encouraging people, that they wanna go into that venture. We have to be able to be creative and bring the ideas in the community and hope that these individuals, receive what is coming in the community and get interested and go out there and start their own small business or do something that is constructive with their hands, because right now, as it stands right now, there are a lot of people in this country right now who do not know what they want to do with their lives, and they're just hanging on the blocks and letting time pass, and then they become a burden to themselves and the country and the community at large. So we really have to find a way on how we can impact the residents in their respective communities, in these communities that I think are beautiful. I think that there's a lot of people are hurt. There's a lot of people out there who have mental health challenges. There are a lot of people out there who have a lot of bills, and they just don't have no one to turn to because of the poverty levels that they're facing in their country, in their community. And because of that, we are seeing all these statistics that comes out when it comes to sweethearting and other statistics that I'm going to read. We are headed for a darn spill, We are headed for disaster. You understand? Okay, I'm going to play the first clip. This is just an ad from the Prime Minister's office that I want just to encourage those out there to go and check Upskill Bahamas. I want many people out there to go check up Upskill Bahamas. Go online, go check it out. All right, go check it out. Okay, Chris, we can play the first clip.
The kind of Bahamas I want to build is to ensure that each and every Bahamian will have the tools to flourish, be able to climb that ladder of success to where they will have what I call a fulfilling life.
The beauty of this program is access to top colleges and universities.
That's the one. That's it? Okay, well, anyway, just go check it out. It's online. Get yourself interested. I know things are tough, I know things are tough, and a lot of you just don't like the border with government because, you get to run around, and a lot of people just frustrated, but don't give up, Just keep on trying, I know it's I know it's very hard, very difficult. I go through every day. I'm still working every day, I'm still trying to finish my own personal project, I'm struggling, but, you got to get up every day. You got to pray. You just got to keep on trying, and then one day, it'll get a little better, Then it'll get a little bad again, then it'll get a little better, and then it'll start to get a little better, And then gradually, you creep gradually, inch by inch, you would start to climb, So I just want to start before we go to the part about sweethearting. I just want to think this is the result of the sweethearting that we are facing in our country now, where it puts the child at risk because now the mother has left this particular individual because, like I said, most Bahamian men living in the inner city community don't have a real 9-to-5 or the trade mechanism to have employment from Monday to Friday to sustain their family, so that they can keep the relationship going. You know, when bills need to pay, I don't care how much a woman loves a man, she will start to, light bill, phone bill, these things. If you're walking, she's trying to inspire you to get a car, and et cetera, et cetera. And if you are not properly trained in the trade industry where you can use your hand on a regular basis, whether it's plumbing, electrical, and then you have a good connect, means you also have a good attitude, that when you do these side jobs, that you have a good relationship with the individuals and customers that you meet, and that your integrity, the way how you speak, the way how you conduct your job, you're on time, you finish your job when you say it's going to finish. If you're not finished on time, you call the individuals, you call the clients, and you let them know, excuse me, sir, madam, I think I'll be a little day late because I have to some adjustments to the pipe, and et cetera, and et cetera, and you're updating them. You're very professional, because this is key on how you can continue to have employment, on the way how you address people, how you talk to people, because this is very important. You could be skilled with your hand. You could be a good plumber, you could be a good electrician, but you don't have no manners, you don't have no respect. So we also have to teach this as well. And this is what we are facing with our females and our males in the country. They don't know how to address, because they're not properly trained. So that's why we have to do everything in our power to educate them and empower them as much as possible. So let me just read quick before I play the next clip. 1 year after Social Services Minister Miles LaRoda reported a disturbing rise in cases of mothers prostituting their daughters, the Bahamas Urban Youth Development Center, BYDC, says the government has failed to create a comprehensive, funded national response to the issue. Ms. Moore, president of the BYUDC, said the commercial sexual exploitation of minors is still happening. This includes cases where mothers feel forced to prostitute themselves, and in some cases, their daughters, because of extreme financial hardship. Ms. Moore stressed that the practice is not a sudden spike. She described it as a decades-long systematic issue rooted in poverty, housing instability, generational trauma, and a lack of coordinative intervention. Intervention means that we have families who, mothers and fathers who are single parent, they live in vulnerable communities, they're not getting the proper social service, they're not getting the proper support system from the church, from the government, and from the community. Can't get it from the community because everyone part of the community. So when you live in an impoverished community and you don't have no one to turn to, then it's like, say, when you put a dog back against the wall, he could be a scary dog, but when he get cornered, he could come at you with everything he got, because, and that's how our society is headed. We might not realize it, but the statistics shows it, and it's happening in our country. We need a response to it, and all these things, like I say, ties into poverty, I have a knack for finding these type of comments in the newspaper and on Facebook, and I use it and I bring on the areas, because this is what I do. This is what my passion is about. I know what the problem is. I know how to fix the problem. So if the powers to be are not really listening to what I have to say, then they listen to all of us who are singing the same language, and that's like persons like Ms. Moore and all the persons who are fighting for the hospital, for the roads, improvement in the community, and et cetera. That's us. Okay, so let me finish read. Yeah. While she acknowledged that public awareness has increased, she said the government has not implemented a targeted and funded national response. She pointed to gaps in emergency housing for at-risk girls, economic stabilization, support for vulnerable mothers, and trauma counseling and rehabilitation services. Other strategies such as prevention, education in high-risk communities, and sustainable funding partnership with frontline non-governmental organizations have also not been applied. Now you see these things she talk about? These are things that I'm doing in my community. When she talk about other strategies such as preventative education. When I talk about we have to educate, well, we have Lenan Bahamas. It's a community center that was built to support the community efforts. They came to assist me, and they're doing a great job of doing exactly what they're talking about: preventative education in high-risk communities, and sustainable funding partnership with frontline non-governmental organization, and that's what I've been able to create. Bahamas-based Rotary Club of East Nassau, National Art Gallery, the Malis family. I've been able to do that. And it's having an effect. It's having an effect. But now I just need to go to that empowerment small business. And that's the last thing I want to do for the community. Help establish small business throughout the community. And this is what this lady is talking about. And this is how we can decrease it if we do these things, by giving the community what it needs to better itself. Because government, is small, and they can't deal with all the issues in the country. But us community-minded with ideas like what was more suggestion, like what I'm doing in the community now, with a little lack of funds. But if we were funded properly with these initiatives in each community, knowing the problem we face, having a proper housing for girls who live in at-risk communities. Once we get the report, we can move them out these inner city communities and put them in rent-to-own home. The government talk about the rent-to-own home, but so far I ain't seen no rent-to-own homes being given out to people in the city community. I don't know if the initiative started yet. I know the Minister Keith Bell, he made some suggestions that, they're looking to start. They probably could have done a few. I know they did some homes, in some subdivision. But as far as repairing homes in the inner city community and giving them to rent on, I can't give an account on that. I know it might be in the pipeline. So I'm guessing that's why they're saying if they could get the next 5 years, then this could be the next phase. I don't know if the Bahamian people is going to buy that, but nonetheless, the problem is there. And I hope that, we take it serious and understand when we see these statistics and comments being made, like persons from Ms. Moore and myself and other people around the country, what is needed. We know what is needed. It's just that the powers to be needed to make this like a pilot program for each community when the report comes in, like social service homes that, are run down, unlivable, but kids living there, get them out, and then continue to train them and empower them, And I mean continue, because, a lot of persons, have mental health issues because of all the trauma they're going through. That's what Miss Moore said. So I'm going to finish read. And then she says here, unsustainable funding partnership with frontline non-governmental organization have also not been applied, she said. Funded in 2010 by the youth archivist, Ms. Moore has offered trauma information, care mentorship, housing reference, and life skills training for vulnerable youth. The organization has focused particularly on girls pushed into transitional sex because of poverty. Okay, in June 2025, Mr. LaRoda reported on an uptick in cases of mothers prostituting their daughters. Some victims were as young as 14. He said the activity was carried out to pay household bills. Although no official statistics were provided, he said victims are typically between 14 and 16 years. Lives are being destroyed before they even begin, he said during his budget contribution in the House of Assembly in June. While the age of consent is 16, using a minor for the sexual gratification of an adult constitutes prostitution and rape, which are criminal offenses and should be reported to the police. Ms. Moore said that if the country is serious about tackling sexual exploitation, there must be action beyond public acknowledgement. She said the crisis still exists, emphasizing the time for collaboration. Action is now. The issue is not simply about criminal justice. It is not about criminal justice because it goes deep. It is about survival, where families are choosing exploitation as a means to pay rent or buy food. That signals a deep social protection failure, she said. And I agree with her fully. And that's why I have this show, because I know I live in the community and I see these things on a regular basis. I know the struggles of a lot of mothers and fathers out there. Some of these fathers are not even employed. Honestly speaking, some fathers out there who have children, they are not employed. And I'm talking hundreds out there. Mothers are unemployed. So that's why we see these statistics about the sweetheart and married this and that. You understand? Be headed for disaster if we don't get it right. You could praise your government all you want, PLP and F&M and coalition. We have a problem, all right? We have a problem that is a Bahamian problem, it's a nationwide problem that has to be addressed because we all at risk in this. You can talk about the government doing this and the government doing, yes, they're doing some good things, but the things they need to do, they're not really focusing on because these things identify key issues where we're going to have kids born who are going to be the next rapists, child abusers, because they themselves were born into it and they've been seeing it. So are we going to play the second clip?
For more than 6,700 respondents aged 18 and older for a University of the Bahamas study revealed that 20% reported having more than one sexual partner within the last 6 months. Of that group, the majority said they considered their second sexual partner a sweetheart.
About 20% of the people having multiple partners, and then within this group, about three-quarters of them considered at least one of these partners as being a sweetheart. Right, so within this multi-partnership arrangement, whatever you want to call it, but on the other hand, they only typically have one sweetheart at a time. So we're not having a large number of sweethearts at once. Maybe it's too expensive or too exhausting, I don't know.
UB released new research examining the phenomenon known as sweethearting, which officials define as maintaining more than one sexual partner at the same time. In his presentation, William Fielding explained that many participants said they sought emotional or financial support, while others reported that their sweetheart was a better lover than their primary partner.
The top of the list is a need for some sort of emotional support. That came out very strongly, and you'll hear more about that from my colleagues later on. So this is the clearly big piece, that they're looking for emotional support from their sweetheart. Then we get into the idea of some sort of transaction, if you like. I get gifts, but not money, as the second one. And then the sweetheart is a better lover than my usual partner.
Researchers found that sweethearting most commonly occurred between older men and younger women. Some respondents said the sweetheart paid for the upkeep of their children. The study also examined the logistics and barriers associated with sweethearting, noting that sexual encounters were most likely to happen wherever privacy could be found, particularly at the sweetheart's home.
This is deemed to be an illicit relationship. You might want to exercise some degree of caution with it. And there is something that's, I think, quite important here for us to notice, is that the women are more likely to have sex with their male sweethearts, presumably, not in their home, but in their sweetheart's home. So this now puts them in a place over which they have less control because, in a sense, they're playing away, right? So this might open them up to a greater chance of being abused because they're not within their own comfort zone.
Alarmingly, respondents who reported having a sweetheart said they did not use a condom, raising serious health and safety concerns. Dr. Shamel Sandsroll further explored the issue of emotional dependency in relationships, focusing on a sample of 2,284 married individuals. More than 1,600 of those respondents were wives. The findings showed that over 51% experienced high or severe levels of emotional dependency, with unfaithful husbands displaying even higher dependency scores.
And what is interesting is that the unfaithful spouses show higher scores. So let me tell you. So when we look at the faithful husbands, keep in mind, everyone had, well, not everyone, more than 50% of the respondents had high or severe emotional dependence. But the score for the faithful husband was 30.8. Is that still not? That's right? So that's the faithful husband. The unfaithful husband was 34.7. So the unfaithful husband actually has a higher emotional dependency score.
Higher levels of emotional dependency were linked to a desire to marry the sweetheart, receiving financial support, feeling needed, and engaging in more frequent sexual contact. Dr. Sandsroll added that many married individuals identified their sweetheart, not their spouse, as their primary sexual partner.
Some of these, the married persons, when we asked them to identify who their primary partner was, they actually said it was the sweetheart, not the spouse.
She also revealed that individuals with higher levels of emotional dependency were more likely to be either victims or perpetrators of domestic violence.
This is more than just a personal issue or even like just a couple's issue. We need to look at this as a public health issue. Why? Because if we're talking about things like emotional and physical abuse, it's a public health issue.
The new scholarly articles are published in the second edition of the International Journal of Bahamian Studies, Volume 31, released this week by the University of the Bahamas. Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Vonique Tude.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chris. You hear what I'm talking about now? I'm a guy off the inner city. I'm a guy from the inner city community. I'm very intelligent. I like to read. I tell people I love to read. That's all I do. Anyone tell you. Anytime they see me, I'm always reading the newspaper. That's all I do. And I like to talk. And I pick, like, what is wrong in our country, right? And then I listen to something that comes out with a study, even though I'm using my own study, right? And then the study comes out from the professional, and then I come on this airwaves. I look for a clip from either the Guardian, the Eyewitness News, that verifies what I'm saying, coming from the information I see on this with my own eyes. So you need statistics to back it up. Because you need experience on the ground and then you need statistics. So combine together, and that's what we're facing in the country today. And it's very dangerous. It's something that should irate you, because this is where we're headed, people. You might listen to the article just now, and you might take nothing to read, all that's going on. But listen, a lot of things has happened. You're going to have pregnancy, you're going to have murders, you're going to have abuse, And this is going to continue because there's a volume of people going through it at the same time, and everyone is doing it, you know. And not only that, it even worse, you know, because now it's not just about sweetheart, and you're talking also about the other part of the Bahamas now, where we have a lot of people who are homosexuals, you know, who male with male and female with female, you know, on a large scale. And we need to add the statistics as well, you know, because they go through the same type of emotional distress that the lady is talking about, because when you go by the sweetheart house and you're taken out of your comfort zone, you know, you're left in that particular vulnerability. You understand, that get abused because, you know, you're in that person's domain, you know, and they take advantage of you, you know, and they could abuse you, you know, you could get raped, you could get killed, you could get a whole hostage, you know, and a lot of stuff can happen. So that's why this is very serious. And then you could have kids as well, you know, and, you know, people break up fast, and then, you know, as soon as you have sex, you know, it only takes one time for sexual intercourse to create a child. But it was not created of love. And, you know, people split up right after they have sex, or in a month time, 2 months time, 3 months time, things go just completely wrong. And the child is born. And the child is left here, you know, indecisive, you know. And we at fault. You know, we at fault, and we in a serious predicament, you know. And why is we going to this election season, right? And a lot of people are going to vote, but we have major issues in the country, and we need to ask ourselves, are we going to continue this pace, you know? Where are the pastors speaking out on these statistics, you know? And how we are going to try and fix it, you know? It's not something that we're going to fix overnight. Programs like this, getting rid of poverty, you know, we could eradicate poverty within 15, 20 years, you know, if we really hard at it. You know, just as well we could get the prison population to a certain level of people going to prison. Because if we deal with poverty, we could deal with how people will make better choices so that they don't go to prison. And then if we continue to educate and empower, we don't need 7,000 families on food assistance. You know, the feeding group say, you know, 7,000 families on food assistance. This as well to show you the kind of problems we face in the country. Anyway, I'm going to take this call, and then I'm going to go back to the conversation. Go ahead, caller. You're on Inside the Inner City on Guardian Radio.
It's Scrooge.
Yeah, good night to you.
You know, this ain't nothing new, right?
No, it ain't nothing new.
It's been going on since 1967.
Yes, sir.
I don't think, you know, the truth is always out there. You know, we see it every day if we look at it, or if we won't see it.
That's right.
But the problem we have that lies tend to have more traction in our culture.
Yeah.
You know, most of the people, I think that survey, right? It seems as if the survey was middle class or higher. I don't think that came into the belly of the culture, like over the hill.
Yeah, the BMW more higher.
Okay, because those people, they don't have time for the conversation.
No.
Okay, now, I think last year sometime they had a next survey about how much money was required for
yes, sir.
middle class household.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know,
to survive.
10 to 12,000 a month.
Yes, sir.
Now, what wasn't spoken about
Go ahead, sir.
is that survey was aimed at persons who were paying rent. Now, if we think about middle class, we think of what? Home ownership or business ownership.
Yes, sir.
But it seems as if it's not, and since that came out of UB also, so even the persons who have sense aren't speaking of being middle class in terms that we would think. For them, it's like middle class is more of a lifestyle. No, this is what you do if you are middle class. Now, the same thing filters out as we move into the other stratus, where now I know that you know a couple of your boys, right? In Foxhill, right now, right?
Yes, sir.
Because they ain't pay.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Now, just keep it real.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
They
sir.
in Foxhill because they didn't pay.
Yes, sir.
And some mother brought charges against them. And that's why they're in Foxhill. It's a much deeper problem than we think. It's more endemic.
Yeah.
It's a part of this culture.
Yes.
But I have a solution, though.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. We are in a framework. It's called a neo-colonial framework.
Neo-colonial
framework.
Yes, sir.
Okay? The persons who gave us our independence gave us a framework in which to work out of.
I feel you.
But that framework does not apply to them.
They're outside the bubble.
No, not that. In their parliament, they can debate, and they can make changes at will.
I agree.
But here, we got to go through referendum to change anything in our laws. And the problem for us is that every 5 years, the persons we vote for, they pledge allegiance to the same people.
Yeah.
So, like, if you want to understand what's going on in the country, see it as we are living on a big plantation.
Yeah, of course. I tell you, I treat it as a company. Right?
Okay.
This is a company. It's a company.
And there's one more point I think I need to make too. You know, when we start to think about ruling ourselves, right?
Oh boy. Go ahead, sir.
And what we got to do to rule ourselves, right?
Enslave and oppress our brothers and sisters.
Okay. Now,
to keep the system in check. So
we got a whole lot of baggage
you're right.
in that area in terms of how we transition.
Yes, sir.
From who we were before, because we still on hold in terms of transitioning and taking on the responsibility of being Bahamian citizens.
You're right, sir.
In this country.
I understand exactly where you're coming from.
You know, you know, as usual, you find the topics
yes, sir.
that cause people to think about where they are.
Yes, sir.
And I wish you much success, my brother.
Thank you very much, sir. And you as well for giving us such a wonderful conversation here tonight. Thank you. Yeah. 7,000 families on food assistance. Let me see if I can read that. Some 2,000 families are being added to Hands for Hunger food assistance registered over the past year, bringing the total number to roughly 7,000. Hands for Hunger Executive Director Ms. Keisha Ellis said around 5,000 people were registered with Hands for Hunger Pantry in 2024 to 2025. The number has since grown to roughly 7,000 families, according to Ms. Ellis, who said the organization has not been able to identify a single cause for the increase. The report figures comes as the government announced the removal of VAT from unprepared grocery items as part of its effort of lowering food costs. The decision is welcome. Yeah, you know, when the caller called just now, it goes back to say, you know, when we look at the cruise port, and I was talking to somebody from the cruise port, you know, and I was going to have a conversation with the cruise port, and this ties in what the caller said about the, keeping the system in place. But I must say that I look at some of the incentive, the person working by the port, the port pays 80% of their national insurance. The port gives them stipend for lunch. It gives them stipend insurance for their children. Some very, very beneficial incentives for Bahamians working on the port. That's right out there on the wharf where the cruise ships is be, and very beneficial for those who work in there, I ain't gonna lie, they got a lot of incentive for the workers. I was talking to this lady last night, and I was asking her about the port, because I saw a comment made by a young gentleman who was a taxi driver, and I'm gonna give a side of the story, but I want to give also the side of the employee who works, or lady who works over there. I was talking to Georgie. We were at a nightclub last night, a karaoke night. And just like I tell you, I go to collaborate with people from all around the country, from the highest to the low levels, in order to have a conversation and also be able to interact and bring that message here to Guardian Radio. Because you got to be on the ground, talking to the people who are going through it, even though you're being through it. But, things change, and you got to see how you can put it together to bring in this time. So I was talking to Georgie. She's talking how she work over there, how much she make in a year. She don't want to live, and they put them through training, and a lot of great incentive. I must compliment them on a job well done. For Bahamians working over there. It's a great idea for the cruise port and the cruise ships. Then on the other end, this gentleman, he was on the port, and he's saying, the port is great. But he said, if you look at the port, there are no tourists coming over downtown Bay Street because of all the activities the port is doing. They have casinos on the ships. They have a lot of water parks and attraction they have when they build this new thing. So he made a lot of sense as well. So this is a hard decision, when you listen to the good and then you listen to the negative side about it, and he's correct as well, because they have their attraction on the cruise ships, and for them not to come off, they just park there. They're in the Bahamas. Most of them might just walk down Bay Street, but they're spending their money on the cruise ship. So even though they're in the Bahamas, they're actually wherever the cruise port is, they're gonna have that beauty fire, they're gonna have that like Atlantis, they're gonna have a lot of attractions and a lot of places for the tourists that comes to the port and spends money. I don't know how beneficial it's gonna be for how much money is gonna come over the hill, but they think it's gonna be very, very less, because like I said, it's gonna be situated in there. But for the workers out there who are working as Bahamians, it's a plus. But listen to the guy who's a taxi driver, he made good sense. And it goes back to say, when we talk about the system, it goes back to when the late, great Edmund Moxie, when he had a conversation, the then Minister of Tourism, what's his name, I get it? It's Stafford Sands. And Mr. Moxie understood the potentials of having overnight guests coming over the hill community. So some thought come them from Mussy the father, Richard comes from, and he listened. And I think this was written in the book called The Fate That Moves the Mountain. I was given a copy from the late Sir Randall Fawkes' wife, who just, I think, passed away, Sir Randall Fawkes. He lived in Grandstand, and, I did some research on the family and Mr. Sir Randall, and doing so, I met the family, and we have become good friends where, they would pass on information to me about certain things. So I was given a book called The Fate That Moves the Mountain. And like I said, like the rape. And in this book, it describes on how Sir Randall, who was the Minister of Labor, who fought for Bahamian rights in this country, they fought him. I think we used to call it Labor Day. Well, that's Sir Randall Fawkes, right? And in the book, it states that Edmund Moxie talked to Sir Stafford Sands, who was a white man, and he said to him, would you consider closing on the cruise ships a certain time, like around 4 or 5, and allow the guests to come over the hill so they could spend some dollars to the average Bahamian. You talk about Mason Edition, Bainton, Fort Charlotte, Grandstand, and you know Grandstand is the first community. And in that community, Mr. Edwin Moxley was able to persuade the Stafford Sons and come up with a proposal. So they created small businesses in the Overdale community, bars, theaters like Capitol Theater. You know, we have theaters, big theaters, you know, where the community used to go and watch all the Dracula and Frankenstein. We had nightclubs, the Cat and the Fiddle, and all those stuff, you know. So that the tourists, when they came over the hill, they had a lot of place to go. They would see hands-on Bahamian singers, Ronnie Butler, Smokey Robertson, you know, all those guys. And that's when the Bahamas was world-renowned for visitors coming to the show. Nat King Cole, even Muhammad Ali, all of them used to come here because the Bahamas was the place to be, because we were the original Bahamians. We also helped build Florida and Miami. So we were close connect, and our music was basically the best music in the world at the time, because some of the top artists at that time, like I said, Nat King Cole, all the top athletes, Muhammad Ali, all of them came to the Bahamas, okay, because the Bahamas was the place to come. And when they came here, we had the best fire dancers, you know, and they would come and live in the community. Dr. Martin Luther King came and lived in Grandstand, Lewis Street, where I live, where we made a historical site where the U.S. Embassy and the Bahamas Antiquities and Monument. We have made it a historical site, and Martin Luther King spent 3 days in the Grandstand area, Lewis Street, where he came to help Sir Ronald, who was on a sedition charge for treason. And Dr. King came here to the Bahamas in 1958 and spent 3 days through Lewis Street. And by that time, once the British saw that Dr. King was coming to the Bahamas, Sir Ronald was freed of a sedition charge, and he was a free man. And him and Dr. King continued their relationship, and they stayed in the community as they walked through the community, and that happened in Lewis Street. And so Stafford allowed Bahamians to build, you see the convenience store, and then the Airbnb, that was the all lie there. A lot of Bahamians went into that. And then something happened where they lost the election, and then a certain premier came in and he stopped the Over the Hill initiative where tourists were not allowed to come over there no more. And a lot of the musicians in this country, you know, who had a lot of talent were no longer able to draw a crowd no more because the guests cannot no longer come over the hill. And because they allowed the cruise ships that were in the harbor, we used to pay $1 million according to the book, that we wouldn't allow the cruise ship that comes to the Bahamas to have any casinos on it, because we wanted the tourists to come over the hill so that they can enjoy the nightclubs. And, you know, because we knew that if they had entertainment on the ships, they would not come off. And we used to pay $1 million. I think the staff and the Bahamas government at the time used to pay $1 million to the cruise ship industry. And once they lost the government, the prime minister that came in at the time, I think, he decided to not pay the cruise ship industry the $1 million so that they don't have no casinos on the ship. So the agreement was not met when the cruise ship industry asked. And so in doing so, it was a boycott, and they threatened to take the cruise ship industry out of the Bahamas. You understand? They threatened the prime minister because, like I said, they threatened the prime minister at that time. And they told him that they would no longer be coming to the Bahamas with their cruise ship. And at that time, the cruise ship industry was the bread and butter of the Bahamas. And agreement, after that, they came back to the negotiation table. And then the agreement was, we're not going to pay us $1 million. Then we're going to upgrade. And the cruise ship industry went and upgraded their ships, and they started adding game rooms and casinos. And after that, you know, that killed our music industry, that killed the Over the Hill activities. You know, we had 1 million guests used to come over the hill around that time. Could you imagine 1 million guests coming over the hill after the cruise ship knock up 5 o'clock, coming over the hill, Blue Hill Road, East Creek, and going all about Nassau, New Providence, spending American dollars. Yeah, and that's something that, you know, we have now been able to recover. We're going to take this call. Go ahead, caller. You're on Inside in the City. Good night, good night.
Good. You from you was a youngster, right? I mean, really young, right?
Yes, sir.
You look when you look to your corner. You always or any corner, right? You always had someone to that corner who was well off, right?
Yes, a lot of wealthy people were around.
Right.
With stone houses.
You also had people who wasn't, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But they couldn't make it. But they couldn't make it.
Right.
They couldn't make it because the people who had money would normally hire them to do some type of work in the community. So money was circulating with a couple of wealthy people in that community.
So I said that to say that ain't nothing changed in the Bahamas. It's the same thing. Okay, let's look at PMH. You remember PMH, right? You always have them wards up there.
Nothing changed.
I understand what you're saying?
Ain't nothing changed.
Nothing changed. I mean, you ain't had that big accident in emergency, right?
No.
But you had them wards, right?
Yeah.
We ain't had the wait period in accident emergency.
Yeah.
And then we had beds in the ward, right?
Yeah.
The situation was better, right?
Yeah, it was better because there was not that much people at the hospital at that particular time because we were more healthier back in the days.
Right.
We didn't have all this cancer, diabetes, and all this crap.
We ain't had no bed. You had no issue with no beds.
No.
All right. So, see, Scrooge, you listened to the Marco Rubio speech with the Munich security, conference?
I watch a lot, but if you could go ahead, you probably if you talk about it.
See, Marco Rubio, he talk about see them people, they Europeans, they white people, that's the white people security conference they dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
You understand me? How you know what I'm saying? He talk about colonization, bro.
Yeah.
Okay, and look at the Bahamas and see where we make our money. It's tourism, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at colonization, that means them foreigners, them white foreigners, specifically, they got to own the shit. Whatever your resources is, they coming for that.
Yeah, that's the agreement we signed.
Right. So all the hotels and things and whatever making money in tourism, they got to own that.
Yeah. That's why we don't have no trickle-down effect on a large scale, you know?
Right. And then you always had them black people who benefited.
Well, you call them the old slaves. You talk about what Django? What is it? You know, I like that power Django. So you get this black nigga, Samuel L. Jackson. So we get a lot of Samuel L. Jackson.
Right. Look at this. You know the thing with the sonic boom.
Yeah.
Them black slaves, them house slaves. I mean, the sonic boom is good for us, but what's with the fishes? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's. I understand what you said. The trickle down effect, you know. We ain't mind you being old slave, but just let it trickle down, you know.
Bro, we our government privatizing things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. Back in the day, we no talk about privatization. We own everything.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden they want to privatize our stuff and give us shares in some what we already own.
Yeah, because if people really know what's really going on, gentlemen.
And all we paying taxes, so we can how you think them things that pop up overnight. Ain't no one did that. That's we had to pay for them things.
Yeah.
Now they selling it out of our hand and say, well, it ain't working because of what?
We can't maintain it?
Right, because say we can't maintain it. Somebody private got to maintain it.
Mm.
Someone private got to own it. A couple individuals, right? And they still got to hire workers. And then they turn around and get tax exempts, and they ain't got to pay anything. They paying duties and things.
So you're talking about Spike and all those contracts going on with PPL?
Even the Bahamian ones, they only a couple of people. They getting all kind of deals. They ain't got to pay no customs duties.
Okay.
You know what I mean? No taxes. You know. You see, so schools let's look at the bus system.
Mm-hmm.
They trying to say now. They trying to say a public bus system ain't no good. So a privatized bus system is better. Or the public schools ain't no good. Private schools would be better. In other words, ain't long before they private. The only thing they wouldn't put, and I wouldn't even put them by privatized in the prison. They'd do that too.
Well, if we had it that way, boy, I know. Boy, I tell you, we all mix right up. They saying now they want to. You was talking a little earlier, and I can see where you're coming from. You talk about the hospital, you're saying it's overcrowded because we have a lot of people from a different nationality came here illegally, and they've been able to overcrowd our hospital, but also our prison, because we're hearing the Minister of National Security.
I ain't going there, Scrooge.
We're hearing, let me just say this, you was on to something here, I was going to read it a little earlier.
Yeah.
We're hearing something here from Monroe says, non-violent prisoners released to make space as population hits 1,801 prisoners. Let me just read this real quick. The Bahamas Department of Corrections Services struggling with overcrowding as more undocumented immigrants facing criminal charges enter the prison system, promoting the government to deport 85 inmates granted the prerogative of mercy on the condition that they do not return to the Bahamas. National Security Minister Wayne Monroe confirmed to the Tribune that 85 inmates were being processed for deportation. The group included Haitian, Jamaican, and American nationals, with Mr. Monroe saying the majority were being deported to Haiti. The inmates had various sentence length. Some were serving time for immigration violation and had only a few months remaining. So that's what you're talking about.
Good.
Hey.
Let me show you.
Oh,
Immigration, he ain't nothing new, bro. Come on, man. Remember now. You always had plenty Asians, man.
Yeah.
Remember Friday used to be Rob Asian Day?
Yeah, the Bahamas.
Come on.
Yeah, that's
you had a buddy named Mousse. Mousse was in here at no Asian relation. What they call him Mousse?
You want me to tell you what they call him, Mousse?
No, what I saying, we always had Asians, bro.
Yeah. But
nothing different.
Yeah, but what we haven't...
Look, remember we had other people. We had the police was foreigners.
Yeah, the Barbadian police, you know.
Our teachers was foreigners.
Yeah. They were good teachers as well. And they sentence are here today as we speak right now.
Right. So it ain't about no foreigners like that. It ain't all about them. It's our system, our leaders, whatever's going on, our leaders benefit from
I think what has happened is you look at the reports, or you've been getting a lot of arrests. You're seeing that we have a lot of people of Haitian nationality and as well as Bahamian who are being smuggling Haitian nationals in the country illegally and getting them to the U.S. and some staying here. And they had some of the best set of boats. They were not coming on sloops. So the money that they were possessing here, that we were creating here off the jobs and stuff here, they were using it to send back to buy the best set of boats to detect, so that they would not be detected out on the sea. So that's what's happening, and that's how they get in our waters, because you understand what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Watch this, Scrooge. Remember now, Stephen Dillon, them Asian, right?
Stephen Dillon?
Yeah.
He's a good man, you can't discredit him.
The Haitians always been
No, I'm not against them. See what I'm saying? This is not about...
And not only the Haitians, everybody else always been here. See, okay, remember now.
No, I know what you're saying.
Watch it with
Before we were British, right? I know when we were British, we had a lot of nationality. We had Trinidadians, we had Barbadians, we had Jamaicans, we had British, we had the French here. Yes. Before we got independent. Yes.
All up in our media,
yes.
everywhere.
Yeah, we were British, and a lot of people of those different nationalities were living here in the country. Because we all working together. Because see.
So watch this. Remember now. When we was sold into slavery, we had black people involved in that too.
Of course, because
right, and they was the educated. Them same Uncle Tom, they always been around, bro.
Yeah. They said
them,
that.
And they was the leaders. They were the educated people.
Yeah.
In the slavery days, them white people, they was them the black educated people. Where can no feel?
Yeah, when you listen to the journals on Christopher Columbus boat, the Alfonso brothers were black, they were black, and they were the ones who navigate with Christopher Columbus,
Right.
The Alfonso brothers, they were from Spain.
So they ain't going nowhere, bro.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Thanks for life and over and everything.
Yeah, bless up. Yeah, thanks for the callers, and we're talking about what really went down, and if you look at our country, we're headed backwards, and he talk about, what's going on with immigration, the overcrowding of the prison because of persons here of nationalities from different countries around the world who will put a screen on our prison system, 1,800. You know how hard, it's 1,800 in the prison that was only was supposed to be made for just about 400 individuals. You can imagine the crowding in that prison, even though they've been in the new prison. Guys living like animals, And then when they're released back in society, because the prison commissioner, Mr. John Clare, he stated that 80 to 90% of inmates are going to come out and right back in society again. The young gentleman who was sentenced that day for the murder of Adriel and Carmichael Road Chris, who I know personally, basically grew up 2 houses away from me. Boy. Ooh, and they were talking about his status in the country. I remember I saying a little something like that. That's the one. If y'all was reading between the lines last week when they talked about it, I was talking about, he didn't know what to do with his life because, he came here, like I say, illegally in the country. You understand what I'm saying? Et cetera. I mean, his parents, you understand? And he was just stagnated, And there was big talks with him in the last 2 weeks on the matter. So it's a very serious thing in our country, and it's putting a strain on us. I don't know what we're going to do. I just think we're going to have to better develop the communities. We have to educate more, invest more. And like I say, you could praise your government all you want, or the party that you're with. Just remember your sons and daughters are living in this country, right? And if you don't do the right thing and make the right decision, you're going to be responsible for the downfall of each individual in this country who goes through an abusive relationship, or is killed in this country, or starving from poverty, and we could do better. It's on you guys. And then one day when it's your child, or your daughter, or your son, and then you feel it, and then you come report to the news and crying, not saying that, I'm not meaning it in that type of way, okay? I don't wish harm come to nobody. But this is real life. And as I speak right now, someone will be crying for their loved one, some way, somehow. So this is real life. You can do something about it. Push for initiative like this. Make these the forefront to address poverty, crime, and come up with strategic ideas on how you could better the community so that people could be self-sufficient, so that we could get rid of this mental health issue in our country. Because I'm telling you now, there are thousands of people in this country who have mental health issues in this country. And it's because of poverty and the lack of them living in this country. Some here legally, some here illegally, and they don't have nothing that they want to do with their life because they just can't see it in the Bahamas. There's nothing interesting for a young person, who are being left out, he or she, to be like anxious to be a part of. We have to be creative, and we have to provide opportunities for our kids in this country so that they could be inspired to do better. But we have to give them the opportunity, and we're not giving them. It is there. Slow, what the government is doing. It's slow, slow, slow. We need to get it in there, in the city community. We need to build up these communities. I want to see clinics in these communities. All right? I want to see low-cost homes in these communities. I want to see a lot of small businesses in the community. I want to see dentist shops in the community. Okay? I want to see the eye doctors in the community. You understand? I want to see the health clinics, in the communities as well. That's what I want to see. I want to see the community build up so that we can be self-sustainable. We're going to take this next call, and then we're going to play the clip. Go ahead, caller. You're on Inside Inner City.
Hello.
Good night to you.
Celestia.
That's Honorable.
Yeah, Scrooge. There's some great things you want to see, Hello?
Yes, brother.
Yeah, I was hoping Hay Street could look like Bay Street one of these days.
Yes, sir.
And, this migrant crisis, Gardner's a bit older than me.
So he would have seen the transition. I'm old enough. I used to go to the Savoy.
That's a nightclub.
Yeah, I used to go to the Savoy. I know about the Capitol. I know about all those things. But, the thing is, Cozy, what irks me the most is when we speak out against the migrant crisis. Like, I don't know who all, I mean, you and I from the inner city, so we we are integrated with these people, miscegenated, whatever, right? And so we live with these people, and I'm tired of I dare say nothing has changed. Something has changed. The number of them
has increased.
Aphorism is aphorism. Truthfulness is truthfulness.
It's increased.
Scusi, let me say this, my brother. Don't ever let anyone brainwash you or make you think or say what they want you to say.
No.
I and I go in with what we observe. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to agree with me either. I go in by what I observe. The numbers have increased.
Mm-hmm.
The belligerence and the anti-Bahamian rhetoric has increased on social media. We're seeing it, the bold, the audacious, just mindlessness. You know what I mean? So you and I are not used to that type of hate coming from a migrant group, right or wrong?
No.
I'm not used to that, Scoochie.
No.
Because we have Haitian Bahamian friends and we know it was normal. But you notice nobody is telling them to calm down their rhetoric. Like you see them bragging about who they can vote for and all this,
Yeah.
And we see the audacity and all of these different things. That doesn't make sense. You don't create tension. Don't tell me you haven't seen any of these videos.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos.
So what I'm saying is, that was not like that when we were growing up. Okay?
No.
All right. So if we all
it's insult. It's insult from the party. If you tell me the truth.
But, I mean, all parties.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I grew up with these people and we were one. We never had those type of schisms.
Not that bold.
Yeah, and so a simple juxtaposition.
Not for no political party.
Yeah, but let me show you. See, Kusi, you did a chronological statements just now as it relates to healthcare and all of those things. Once we could achieve them, you see, inclusivity. That's what I'd like to see inside the inner city, which entails everything that you said. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, let's look at it this way. We look at this problem develop. You're saying the government hasn't facilitated this increase in population by increasing clinics.
Yes.
Economic opportunities.
Yes.
Because me and you know about the vibrant communities back in the days.
Yes.
There's always a way to make money. And I like how you said that. There was always a way to make money. Whether it's washing car, cutting someone's yard, doing this and doing that.
Yes.
But we have so much strangers in our midst. But yet still national security, they mum on everything as relates to our insecurities. Listen to me, Scoozy. Let me not forget this. I want to make this simple juxtaposition. It's very simple, to show you that they are BSing us. They just said that they're releasing prisoners, non-violent offenders, right? Because of overcrowding in the prison.
85.
Now, only a naive, imbecilic mind can't see that is the same thing that's happening in our country, just the 7 by 21. You understand me?
That's 85.
Yeah, but I'm juxtaposing that. So if the prison is being overfilled, what about our communities? Because we see people renting and living in
all that statistics.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is they're duping us, and so even as you and theirs talk about the Django when the Django comes to ride on the horse and they see the Negro on the horse, right?
Samuel Jackson.
Yes, sir, but there's no difference, Scoozy, that when you're in the city and you're making money or you're doing something for yourself, people looking at you and hating you.
Yes.
It wasn't like that.
No, it wasn't like that.
You always glad for that. So what I'm saying is there's a lot of strangers in our midst.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, and so
it is proven those 85 persons, even though you say they're not.
But I go to the Asian woman and buy plants and buy things and spend with them too. But what I'm saying is, once you're dealing with them, you notice that they will always try to nickel and dime you. They will always try to down talk a price. That's just them. So there is a difference in the culture. But what I'm saying is, most of the people talking, they don't really have children, so they don't see the long-term repercussions. If I'm talking that. And the xenophobic, they need to ask everyone to spell that. Who calls the talk show? Because I'm sick and tired of hearing that BS. That's one word I begin to hate now. Now, I wouldn't say there are not some people that are xenophobic, but, me in the inner city, I can never be xenophobic, you see? Because I go into my bedroom front with them all. You understand what I'm saying? But what I'm saying, Scoozy, we all get up the same place, hospital, cemetery, or jail.
Yeah.
The government is not doing anything to facilitate that. So I believe being a PLP, you forget you got to die, Because the way I see that woman, the pretty politician was, the pretty politician was, someone tell me she's a Noah's lady from Long Island. She was by the rally or something. A pretty bright lady.
Okay.
Yeah, she's a lawyer.
Okay.
But I don't know what she's on, but she didn't look normal to me. You see how she pointed her finger at that power? I don't know what kind of invigoration that is. I don't know what has caused it, but I'm frightened by the political buffoonery that comes up during the run-up to the election. And there's a lot of things that you know, but you can't say, and you won't say on the radio. And some people say you can't prove it, but there's a lot of things that can be proven as it relates to the misuse of the public treasury and funds. And people, I don't care who denying it, but you can see it. You can see it, you know. And so the deterioration of the city is that we're overdeveloping this island, we're overpopulating this island, and people may say otherwise, but what I'm saying is something has to be managed. Everybody has a gated community, a hated community.
There you go. Right? Yes, sir.
And so I just mentioned it, but they cut me today because the psychiatrist, I don't know if she could take what I was saying, but what I'm saying is, you need, in order to have peace of mind, you need nature. But in the book, The Brave New World, what they did was they did an experiment in which they placed the young children on like a big carpet medium, and they run electrical currents through it. One side they had books, one side they had nature. So that subconsciously the children grew up to hate nature and love sex and love promiscuity because they let them play naked. You could read the book and get the concept behind it. But in other words...
I understand. That's what I'm talking about today.
But schools, me and you smart and we street smart, so we don't really need no one to shape our mind. The whole world right now, Dare's made a very interesting point, but schools, I'm saying this battle for the Earth's resources was my first message 12 years ago on Guardian being ready for 14 years, 12, 13 years ago. Most people really don't understand. They still don't understand what they're trying to tell them. So all of these stuff, and firstly, like I say again, I'll say it again on the radio, I've said this many times on the airways, I really just get angry with people when they come on and say they're not a conspiracy theorist. You don't have to be, you could be a conspiracy realist because most of the things that people saying were conspiracies are
true.
You know?
It's actually true.
And so it sickens me when educated people come on the radio and say that, and they conform, and they think they sound so intelligent, but they are not. What happens is their minds are being molded to think the way people want them to think. And so even with censorship, it's dangerous.
Yes.
You're censoring people, so what happens is conformity and censorship and passivity and hedonism and leisure time and all that, like as if we come here to enjoy every time. I mean, like, we come here to enjoy our lives, but sometimes you have to go through a little stoic period in times of adversities. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The human race has become weak and pathetic and just want to have fun.
Yes.
And so
not knowing the consequences, what comes with having a fun.
A perfect example. If I want to build muscle, you know, I'm not a person who go in the gym and pump iron and look at myself.
Yeah.
If I want to build muscle, in order for me to do that, I have to suffer some pain, right?
Yeah.
All right, then that's the same thing about life. I look at it that same way, just as a simple juxtaposition. I just want to be, Scrooge, when will the politicians decide to solve at least some of the problems? Every 5 years, a politician turn into a 5-year magician.
Anyway.
You know what I'm saying? But anyhow, keep it up, Scrooge.
All right, brother.
I got to come see you, and you got to put some things forward, but, you know, we really hope to see the inner city the way it is, but the migrant crisis is a problem, Scrooge. And so they know that. And so what happens is all of the imbeciles who say we're picking on the Haitians, right? We are not, because that's the demographic.
No. We don't talk about
that's squatting on the archipelago all over.
People are smuggling people illegally in the country. We are not for that. If you're here and you need to get...
say the Haitian community, right? Tune on the anti-Bahamian thing there, because all us is one. And you can't get away with that. You see me, Scoozy?
Yeah, brother.
You know such thing as the Haitian.
Yeah, no hating.
Because that ain't gonna work. You see what I'm saying? But I want to share this with you and everyone who could hear my voice.
You're going to make Rick.
Voice, the geopolitical madman, right? He went after Venezuela, right? Now he's inducing my good friend Trump, because you know me and Trump was on the same page during the pandemic. Now he's inducing tyranny, this discomfort in Cuba. You could imagine the fuel system, people on the dialysis machine or heart machine in Cuba, and the fuel turning on and off and creating that. And then so now maybe they're coming for us next, because the government ain't really listening to the geopolitical madman. You see what I'm saying? So think about that. It's Cuba, it's the sub-region, and so it could be us next. And so you will see the fallout. Give thanks.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah, thanks very much for calling. What are you saying? You know, that's the type of war. See, people think it's just dropping bombs. No, there's different type of war. There's embargoes. There's financial war. There's tariffs and stuff like that. You know, there's different ways how war is fought. You know, and I told you I read these things when I get to understand. It's not just about dropping bombs. There's financial war, like I say. There's tariff war, like what the president is putting on. What he's doing to Cuba and say that he wants Cuba to submit to the demands of the U.S. and he knows that cutting off supply from Venezuela would automatically slow down the production levels of Cuba. You know, they'd stabilize it, get the citizen of rest, you know, because if there's no oil coming in from Venezuela, then definitely they're the final alternative. And then the U.S. is not allowing other oil ships to come in this region, you know. So they're dictating, and this is war. And if they have to starve a country in order for them to submit, they would try it. I know Cuba probably has other alternative, but we see how things wake up. And this is the one, this is the part of war, you know. Presidents who are tyrants, they use these tactics, you know. And far as concerning us, I think we have a lot to offer to the U.S. I think that, you know, we are one of their closest allies, despite what the government is doing. The U.S. really can't interfere in the affairs of the Bahamas. You know, we have a jurisdiction, even though we know Trump is a madman, but he is not going to really do that to the Bahamas for some particular reason. They just know it, you know, because we are close ties. Trump was a business partner in the Bahamas. You may remember that? He had an airline here, you know, airport here. You know, so he was a businessman, and he knows the strategic position of the Bahamas. You know, we can stop them from using our waters, which would be in the billions, stopping them from their tanks maneuvering in our waters. You know, because you must remember now the Bahamas is the most protected places in the world. People would say North and South Korea, but there's no more place protected more than the Bahamas, because in our waters, in our 700 miles, 700 keys, we have one of the most strategic positioning in the world. This is the new world. So we are the gateway. We have the airspace that the U.S. uses to pass over our airspace to save fuel to get to other places in the world. They use our water with their submarines, their warships, to maneuver through our waters to save Earth. So we're in a good position now. The only thing that can change that if our prime minister or one of them was involved in drugs and shipping in the U.S., then the U.S. will really come and be a burden to us. Until then, you know, we are on good terms with the U.S. You know, we're going to play this last clip real quick. And we're going to take this last call after the caller. You're going to have about 2 minutes. We're just going to play this clip real quick. We only have 7 more minutes.
Single Bahamian men are more than twice as likely as single Bahamian women to report having multiple sexual partners, according to a new study released by University of the Bahamas. The research analyzed data from more than 6,200 respondents who have never been married but were sexually active within the last 6 months. They included over 1,500 men and more than 4,000 women.
The data showed that within the last 6 months, single men were more than twice as likely as women to report multiple partners. Men, of course, was at 41.5%, women 22.4%. Are we surprised? No? Y'all saying men cheat? We don't. Now, this gender disparity, of course, aligns with what exists in terms of cultural narratives, not just here in the Bahamas, but if you look right across the Caribbean, that is the trend where men historically have been characterized by greater social flexibility, as we want to term it, and permissiveness.
The study also found that single men recorded higher emotional dependency scores than single women. Individuals who admitted to cheating displayed even higher levels of emotional dependency.
Individuals engaged in sweethearting or concurrent romantic relationships may experience greater emotional validity, heightened need for validation, and intensified relational insecurity, or if we put it in context, high emotional dependency. The data also showed that there was a positive association between the number of partners and emotional dependency. So respondents having more intimate partners reported higher dependency levels.
Only 17% of respondents identified a spouse as their primary sexual partner, with some respondents feeling like their sweetheart was the better lover.
Higher dependence rates among the respondents were connected to them wanting to marry their sweetheart. We see the numbers. So a lot of single respondents who are in these intimate relationships, they actually want to marry their sweetheart. Some want to have a baby with their sweetheart. So do we see the birth of a nuclear family, or do we see the birth of something else? Again, the whole idea of feeling needed comes up, that need for validation and security. And of course, a high number of them reported their sweethearts being better lovers.
UB released new scholarly findings on the phenomenon known as sweethearting, defined by researchers as engaging in more than one sexual partner at the same time. The original articles are published in the second edition of International Journal of Bahamian Studies, Volume 31, which was released on Tuesday.
Wow. You listen to that? What are we making? The sweetheart in the marriage want to have a child for the married man or the married woman. You understand? What are we making? How the child is going to turn out to be. You understand? And that's what we are creating in our country today. So we have to educate our kids on a lifestyle of getting married and being loyal. You know, and we have to make our women feel they don't need to be dependent, you know, on no man. You know, if we work together, you know, we could be 50-50, you know. Take that screen off of them, you know, that you need to depend on the man for everything, you know. So we have to make the country more self-sufficient. We have to make more empowering women a top issue, make empowering men a top issue. We have to train our kids about sex, that it's dangerous, that when you have sex, it should be sacred. When you have sex, you should think about it, do a background check on your spouse or the person you're interested in to see what type of person they are, because people, you know, switch immediately after you get in a relationship, you know. They show you their good side for 3-4 months, then they show you their bad side, and you find out they're married. They lie to you all through that, he or she. So these are the things you're going to have to do. We're going to take this last call real quick. Caller, you have to make it real quick. Caller.
Yes, Cruz. You know, I really wanted to address the issue of that tape you just played, but the issue with when you're 52, me and 52 go up neighbors, you understand me? You know, both I and 52 parents, people were kind of well off in the neighborhood. So we know all sides, right? But with 52, right, see, I'm not saying that most of the immigrants, or especially the Haitians, ain't an issue. I'm just saying that them Haitians, at some point or another, we got to unite with them Haitians. They ain't got to be in the Bahamas. We need to unite with them in Haiti. You know what I'm saying? But you know, does it benefit them same Uncle Tom's, bro? Whatever's going on is benefiting them. But quickly with the issue, the tape you just played, seems like some of the men are married and many of them are not. But the ones who are married and the women who's going with them, that sounds like a woman who is going to that man just because, and she's better because she's on the job trying to provide for her family.
Yes. So we have to make the woman more self-sufficient, empowering them. And I think that's the way to go. And we have to understand these reports. And I'm saying to the nation, we are making a lot of unwanted kids. I was an unwanted child, okay? And until I find my way, I had to make mistakes after mistakes. But I had my grandparents and my auntie and uncle. But I'm saying, where were my parents? You know, I've never had a mother's love. I never had my mother hold me in my hand. I never had my father hold me in my hand. I don't even never remember my mother walking me to school or my father walking me to school. You understand? I didn't even consider them like my mother, father. No, not being disrespectful. My mom passed away, you know, and I understand the situation she went through. She went through the same thing. Thousands and thousands of Bahamians went through. We vote. We looking for better. That never happened. We get stagnated in these communities. Poverty comes up. She ended up making bad decision, right? Mother and the child, and being irresponsible and causing the child himself to rebel against what is right. And that's what it was. That's what is happening in our country today. So we need to empower. We need to clean up the communities. And that's what these statistics are saying, you know. Study finds married women rate sweethearting as better lovers than husband. But the Bible tells you, about marriage and how you're supposed to respect it. Unless that woman leaves, they have no more connection. Unless that man leaves that woman because of irreparable differences, right? And they're separated, they're not going to get back together. But if you know someone is married, has a ring on their hand, has a wife or has a husband, you understand? Think about it. Gentlemen, think about it. Females, you know, it traps you. A spell is coming on you, and you're never going to be happy. Never, ever going to be happy, you know, because you're breaking a covenant with God. That's something you should not interfere with, you know. If it's not of your doing, sometimes people lie to you. I understand that, But we need to educate. We need to teach people the consequences of going against God's word and explain it step by step from they're young in primary school, then to junior school. But we have to be able to empower them, So I just hope you listen to the show and see that what we are facing in our country, decision, and we're accepting it as right. And then we having these children. And these children becomes the next set of criminals in the country or child abusers in the country because they are neglected, because their mother and father are not together. They did not plan to have these children. They are having sex. Children is conceived. Everyone go with their business and leave the child here to suffer. And then when the child suffer and gets rough and tough, he or she takes it out on the next behemoth, and it keeps on going. I'm Valentino Brown, host of the talk show Inside the Inner City that premieres every Friday at 6:30 to 8 p.m. I hope you enjoy the show. Think and make. It's hard to make the right choice, but guess what? When you make the right choice, it's better than making the wrong choice, you understand? And once you make the right choice, God would guide you in the right direction. Trust me. Take it from me. Since I started making the right choices in life, my life has completely changed. I have less stress. I have less worries. You understand? Real talk. But when I was doing foolishness, I was cursed. And a lot of us are cursed because we are not changing our ways. We're sticking with our wicked ways. And because of that, we're causing our own demise. Change your ways, change your mindset, change your surrounding. All right? Put God first, and your life will change.